Welcome back to Eclectic Explorations. Now, before I get started, just a brief warning. If you have not been watching the latest season of House of the Dragon, or if you have not read the books to see the outcome of the Dance of Dragons Targaryen Civil War, and have no wish to, do not proceed with this video. Okay? Without further ado, let's get started. So, in the second season of House of the Dragon, we are introduced to Alys Rivers. She is introduced to us as a bastard of House Strong, and in the books, she's primarily known in the historical lore depicted as a paramour of Prince Aemond Targaryen, and she's also alleged to be a sorceress during the Dance of Dragons. However, her ultimate fate is not explicitly detailed. So far what we've seen on the show, it's actually deviated so much from who she is in the books that I'm actually convinced that TV show Alys Rivers might actually be on the side of the blacks rather than the greens, which she is in the books because, well, I mean, she's Prince Aemon's paramour and also allegedly carries his child eventually. Anyways, following the death of Prince Aemond in the Battle of the God's Eye, and again, like I already said, I already gave the disclaimer at the beginning. We're just gonna keep it rolling. Anyways, following Prince Aemond's death, where he was allegedly slain by and allegedly also slayed Prince Daemon Targaryen, Alys River basically disappears from the historical records. There's many various rumors and legends about what happened to her, but for the most part, she kind of just disappears off the radar after Daemon and Aemon kill each other. But fast forward to about a year after the conclusion of the Dance of Dragons to 132 AC, because Dance of Dragon goes on from 129 to 131 AC. So a year after that, the Hand of the King, Tywin Lannister, yeah, so he sticks around, guys, at least in the books, sends 100 men led by Sir Regis Groves of the Kingsguard and Sir Damon Derry. They march from King's Landing and Castle Derry to Harrenhal in the Riverlands to investigate claims of a bunch of outlaws and brigands congregating there under the orders of a witch queen sorceress. I mean, really, who else? I also say that plainly, but remember, this is Harrenhal we're talking about. This is the place where Daemon's been having gruesome nightmares the entire season. Well, as you may have guessed it, when the men get there, it turns out the witch queen sorceress is just Alys, casting her murderous spells on her haters, allegedly birthing Aemon's bastard son, and having a dragon are some of the claims she makes to the King's Landing party. She literally presents a young boy, claiming that he's her bastard son with Aemond, that she claims should be the rightful king instead of Aegon III, who is the present, at that time, the present king, the son of Prince Daemon and Queen Rhaenyra. Well, Sir Regis thinks this is all a load of ridiculous hogwash and trash talks Alys to her face. And then, mysteriously, he immediately dies. And some claim that Alys uses magic to burst his skull, while others claim he was just killed by crossbowmen or slingers among Alys's men. Anyways, Alys's men then ride from Harrenhal and basically beat the crap out of the King's Landing soldiers. Excuse me. And by the end of it, Sir Damon Derry leads 32 survivors of the original 100 men back to Castle Derry. The next day, Alys sends a captured loyalist back to Castle Derry as a messenger. And this survivor claims that he saw a dozen other captives get tortured to death, and that he himself had been cursed by Alys so that he would die if anybody laughed at his story. Literally, she had cursed him to death if anybody laughs at whatever he tells them. You know, talk about a fragile ego, right? Anyways, he says that Alys had instructed him that any man who approached Harrenhal without submitting to its occupants would die. And the man also insisted that he had seen a dragon inside. Well, despite Sir Daemon Darry's assurance that no one would laugh at the messenger's story, somebody did. Okay? And within minutes, the messenger chokes to death. Mysteriously, immediately, and some claim to see the imprints of a woman's finger on his throat. I mean, dang, Alys. What happened? Dance of Dragons took a toll on everybody. Anyways, back in King's Landing, Tywin Lannister was troubled by Sir Regis Grove's death, and Lord Unwin Peake. I didn't believe Sir Daemon Darry's claims of dragons and Alys's magic, and the other regents agree with Mr. Lord Peake's conclusion that it was just outlaws and brigands to blame. So the King Aegon III's regents, among them, Tywin Lannister, the Hand, conclude that they would need to gather a larger force than their initial 100 men to recapture Harrenhal. But unfortunately, their plans were interrupted by the winter fever a year later in 133 AC. I mean, coincidence? Is that just a coincidence? Or did Alys just decide to work her powers to the maximum extent? Because a ton of people perish due to this winter fever, including Alicent Hightower. So, if that was Alys's work, then she or her magic really improves post DOD. Anyways, so yeah, that's pretty much all we really know what happens to Alys or Harrenhal for the next 18 years. Okay. Then so we literally don't know anything else that what happens between after the winter fever kicks in and completely derails the King's Landing's plans to retake Harrenhal from Alys. We don't know anything what happens for the next 18 until 151 AC. So 18 years after 133 AC, when the plans to retake Harrenhal are scrapped. King Aegon III is still king. And he actually gifts Harrenhal to a house called House Lothston. So, I mean, what the heck happened in those 18 years between then and the Alys Rivers drama? I mean, seriously, there's literally no further mention of attempts to investigate those allegations of dragons and Alys Rivers, and even just to subdue those outlaws controlling one of the biggest castles in all of Westeros. To be honest, it probably just solidified King's Landing perception of Harrenhal as this accursed, haunted place, and probably just made them want nothing to do with it. But in regards to the alleged bastard son of Alys and Aemond, I could actually find a couple of hints that maybe he could have existed, and maybe even married into, or something like that, into House Lothston. Also, by the way, it's also worth noting that if Alys really did give birth to Prince Aemond's son, it's ironic because that kid would have been the closest blood relative to the at that point deceased children of Rhaenyra Targaryen, who were obviously fathered by Sir Harwin Strong, though not confessed, as you all may be aware, having watched House of the Dragon, Jacaerys, Lucerys, and Joffrey Velaryon. But because of politics, if they were ever to come face to face. That is these three sons of Rhaenyra and Harwin, and this bastard son of Alys and Aemond. They would unfortunately have been at each other's throats, despite being so closely related, having being related on both sides of their families. It's also ironic because Prince Aemond was probably one of the most vicious when it came to tormenting Queen Rhaenyra's children of their strong bastardy, yet he himself would have fathered a bastard child with a bastard of House Strong. I mean, just worth noting. Anyways, back to the second hint of Alys and Aemond's alleged son's existence. So to make matters even more mysterious, we don't, after 151 AC and all that, but then I found out this very interesting character who was barely even mentioned, but I think it's worth noting. So check here, the bastard of Harrenhal was a bastard of House Lothston during the reign of King Daeron II Targaryen, who was defeated by Sir Arlen of Pennytree in the melee at a tourney at King's Landing in 193 AC. His given name has not been published. So 42 years, so we know this, 151, fast forward to 193 AC. House Lothston has a mysterious bastard participating in a tourney, and this bastard's given name was not published. I wonder why. Okay. And then fast forward a few more years, and Harrenhal, from House Lothston at Harrenhal, emerges a very somewhat familiar figure, a very familiar character. Well, we haven't seen her yet, but she reminds us of a very familiar character. So Danelle Lothston was born in Harrenhal and was rumored to be a bloodthirsty magic practitioner. Danelle Lothston was known as Mad Danelle or Mad Lady Lothston and had a reputation for being a witch and surrounded by dark rumors, including tales of dark sorcery, cannibalism, and other sinister deeds. She was described as having dark hair and dark eyes, adding to her menacing image. Does all this sound like somebody familiar who lived at Harrenhal a couple of decades earlier? Yeah, I mean, Danelle Lothston lived maybe a few decades after Alys Rivers, but had an awful lot in common with her in her reputation. And so what's the deal? I mean, so let's fast forward everything. So 133 AC, the expedition to retake Harrenhal from Alys Rivers is faltered. We fast forward 18 years from then, and the castle is gifted from King Aegon III to House Lothston, from which a creepy Alys Rivers-like sorceress emerges a few decades later and gets that whole family, House Lothston, eventually extinguished, just like every other family to have been Lord of Harrenhal. I mean, what happened in all that time? Seriously, like we have nothing. There's no information given. So could Alys Rivers been at Harrenhal when could she still have been at Harrenhal when it was gifted to House Lothston, and instead of killing them or anything, maybe taught them a few tricks up her sleeve, or maybe married her alleged bastard son with Prince Aemond into House Lothston? And then maybe that bastard child's bastard child was the mysterious bastard of Harrenhal of House Lothston in 193 AC. I don't know. Who knows? But anyways, as of now, Alys Rivers' fate in the books, at least, remains ambiguous and unresolved. But hopefully George R.R. Martin expands on her story in future works, especially now that she's got a pretty, Alys Rivers has a pretty solid following among the Song of Ice and Fire fan base, since she's had pretty significant screen time by now. But for now, her final destiny remains a mystery for us all to ponder. I certainly found it very interesting. But without further ado, thank you all so much for tuning in to the latest segment of Eclectic Explorations. It really means a lot. All your likes, your views, your shares, your emails, your constructive criticisms. It all means a lot, guys. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, so because that's the ultimate way you can keep these videos going. And I promise I will continue to do better.